There was some concern that this would perpetuate the stereotype that Latino men are violent. And there was some talk about how it is too Latino.
Yeah. And then you maybe a little bit worried about serving alcohol to Latinos while they're watching boxing matches.
Yeah. That's the other one. Like, how are we going to serve beer at an event while they're watching boxing? I'm like, you just bring the beer.
You just bring the beer.
and like, well, what happens if people are drinking and they break out a fight? It's it's something like you think that just happens. Like there's like beer and Latino men, all of a sudden they're just fucking fighting. I mean, at quinceañeras, sure, but
right.
Yeah, but that's
different. That's different. It's not a boxing match.
Right. And so finally, like I was getting frustrated because I saw this debacle not happening or happen horribly, and I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Chuck's in charge. I'm taking it all out of your white hands. Chuck is in charge of this, and only Chuck and the Latino staffers that know this world are going to do this, and that's it. And sure as shit, it was a great event.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Latino Vote Podcast. That's right, baby. I'm back. I know you've missed me. I'm just letting you know I'm sorry you had to suffer through Mike Madrid for 3 weeks without me, but I'm back, and no, I was not in the south of France. I could have been in one of Mike Madrid's vacation homes in Mexico, but I will never admit that on this air. It's good to be back, Mike. What happened while I was gone? Was there any news at all?
Couple things happened. My feelers got a little hurt. I got to be honest with you. A lot of comments saying, I think you need Chuck back on this to give us a little bit of a balance. I thought I did a good job. I thought I carried did us right. I thought I represented well, but it's good to have your svelte voice back. And you're looking sharp, man. You're looking tan, rested, and ready. You need a little gold chain or something to add to that. For you
know,
YouTube
I got
listeners,
a chrome necklace. You know, I got a chrome necklace.
I thought that chrome necklace would be part of the I don't know. You look good, man. You look like you've been on a beach somewhere.
Well, we are honored today. We've been promising listeners for a long time because there's one politician who's gotten more airtime on the Latino Vote Podcast. It is Senator Ruben Gallego from Arizona, and we are so honored to have him here today. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Senator, thank you so much for making the time to be on with us today.
You got it, brother.
It's good. It's great to be. I just got to jump in right now because I'm excited too. It's like meeting Mick Jagger for a little bit, right? It's like write about him in my book, and I'm like write off pieces about him.
Yeah,
on Twitter.
I'm gonna disappoint you.
I'm so proud of the work that you're doing and the way that you've kind of. It's not easy doing what you're doing, both politically and policy wise. These are obviously very turbulent times, Senator. But you represent our community so well. You have this innate ability, I think, probably because of your life story to kind of articulate and connect with this community. Regardless, Chuck and I banter back and forth. We have different perspectives on where we're coming from, but we respect each other because we care about gente. We care about each other. We care about our community, and you really embody that. I mean, I'm dear friends with Alex Padilla. I love Alex too. Catherine Cortez Masto, Ben Lujan, all todos, right? But it's like there's I love the four of you, and I love watching you. And can I get your autograph? Can you like sign something for me? So I don't mean to fanboying too much, but it's great.
I do X. I'll just do an X. Handwriting.
So before we get started here, and we got a line of questions, and we only have the senator for so long, I'll remind Mike and Andres that we promised to do this, and I just remembered it was on my kitchen table. But I'm going to see you later tonight, Senator, at an event for another candidate in Arizona. But I'm going to present you tonight with this. This is an award, which is the first ever. Yeah. It says the Latino Vote Podcast with Chuck Rocha and Mike Madrid, the 2024 La Vote Award winner for Best Political Moment of the Year. It was voted on, and you won it. And I was going to present it to you. We need to take a picture for the podcast. But for all of you YouTubers who are watching, there is a real award. Thank you, Andres, and the production team. And tonight at one of the events me and Ruben will be at together, we will present this to him so he can put it in his office. Senator, I look forward to seeing you, and I'll give you this tonight.
All right, well, for what moment was it, though? Was it just running the election or like a particular moment?
Nope. It was the moment having you there and the way you run the campaign. We had a whole podcast about this where you had done things much different. And let me do that and kind of tee that up on the first question. One of the first questions, and the reason that we gave you the award, and me and Mike went back and forth and a lot of the listeners voted on it, was because your campaign was really different. than other Senate campaigns that we had seen. Sure, there's other senators that won while Donald Trump won. I like to remind the viewers that there are 200,000 more registered Republicans in Arizona.
No, 300,000.
300,000 more registered Republicans in Arizona. That's what made it even more special. But why don't you take the listeners? These are all political nerds like us, Senator, and they all love campaigns. They love campaign strategy. This is not a policy podcast. This is Politicals 101. Tell the readers, the listeners, in a nutshell, what really made your campaign different than other Senate campaigns around the country?
Well, I think basically because I started from the position that I wanted to win big. And I think a lot of Democrats want to win, but they only kind of put the coalition together to win by +1, right? Because and the theory of what I looked at it in the election was that I knew that I can overperform with white men, that I could overperform with Latinos, that I can overperform rural Arizona. And I knew that. Like when I first started this, a lot of people in Washington, D.C. did not believe that, right? And, Chuck knows he was part of my campaign. We had a very concentrated effort to make sure that we did that. And this is why we won by 2.5%. It would have been more. We even had a Latino Green Party candidate that shows up with $1 million IE at the end that cuts into our lead. But this is why we overperformed in rural Arizona compared to the top of the ticket. Doesn't matter where in Arizona, we overperformed there. We performed in suburban Arizona. We overperformed with Latinos. And I knew that I could do it in a very authentic manner because there's this thought that if you're a brown guy, you have to tone down your brownness so you could still get, some of these white swing voters. And if you're, the guy that is from Phoenix, you have to get yourself all in your Wranglers and put on your boots and get out to rural Arizona and deny that we're from the city, or that if you want to get the gente to vote for you, your Latinidad out there, you can't make an emphasis on the fact that you went to Harvard or that you want your family to be successful and rich, and everyone thinks that we all are one step away from the UFW movement, which was very important part of our Latino civil rights movement and voting movements, but it's not the whole thing, right? And my contention was very simple: was that I could hit all those worlds and I can do it and not blink at all and be confident. And Chuck, you're on the campaign trail with me. I would be meeting with Latinos, working class men 1 hour, and the next hour I'd be walking into a meeting with a bunch of CEOs. I wouldn't even change my coat. I wouldn't do anything else. All I'd do is maybe change my language from English to Spanish, and I would still talk to those guys too. And then I'd go to Scottsdale and meet with the Scottsdale yoga families, and then at the same time go and talk to our Native American community. So my whole thing was we're gonna fight for all of them. And if you look at how the campaign was kind of put together, I essentially did that too. And for your nerds out there, political nerds out there, for example, I had consultants that were just Latino outreach consultants and Latino media. I didn't have my white consultants have somebody in their shop that was taking care of Latino stuff, because I knew that instinctively what's going to happen if shit hit the fan, which sometimes it does, and it did in this campaign when it came to the budget, that they were going to cannibalize the Latino budget in order to save the overall general market budget. And you can't win that way. We needed to overperform in all with all these people, especially because it ended up being a shitty year for us, right? It was a good year. It was a good year for Democrats, because we were going into this thinking it was an R+5 year. Is that right, Chuck?
Yep.
It ended up being an R+11 year in Arizona. If we hit an R+5 year, we're winning this by 7 to 9 points, right? Ended up being not that. And then we had the Green Party candidate. But, this is why I put it together. And then lastly, I knew it. I called it from the day one. I didn't know how it was all going to end up, but I said this is going to be a vibe fucking election. It's going to be a vibe fucking election. Who's got the better vibes, who create the better vibes is going to win. So we had a big emphasis on these events, these community events. A lot of them were Latino oriented, but some of them, were other fun stuff too, that showed that we were the fun campaign, that we were the energetic campaign, that we were the campaigns going to work to go anywhere, talk to anybody, and that we weren't, we were the the people you wanted to root for. And in a world where like everyone's got like individual podcasts to go to, which by the way, the Democrats suck at this, right? There aren't that many Democratic podcasts to go to. And then when people start shutting off TV or stop looking at the advertising that come over, Facebook, social media, YouTube, whatever it is, it's a person that has created enough vibe in the political world that someone says to the other guy, like, oh yeah, that guy, great guy, like him. They can't point their finger on what it is. They don't know what it is, right? But at the end of the day, that is going to be just as important as like sometimes the millions and millions of dollars of TV. One of the things I always emphasize in the campaign, it's like, whatever we do on this campaign, we're smiling, right?
Yeah.
Smile, smile, smile. No matter what we're doing, fucking smile, right? Because that shit travels miles and miles. And when things were bad and things got really, really bad, we kept smiling, kept having the optimistic point of view, and we just kept talking to people. And I think that's what helped us win in a state that, we're not as lucky as Michigan and Nevada. They have parity. There's enough Democrats. There's equal amount of Democrats and Republicans registered to vote in Nevada and in Michigan. Like, we knew that we're going into this, that we're going to have to get, when a campaign started, 200,000 Republicans, at least some of them to come over and vote for us. By the time the campaign ended, it was 300,000 Republicans. And we knew from day one, we had to get those people to be with us. And that's why the campaign was the way it was. Sorry, I went through.
No, that's what we want to hear. That's what our people love to hear. Look, you've got a natural instinct for this, obviously. I was looking at your social media feed yesterday, and you kind of took Kristi Noem to task in such a beautiful way. It just, I loved it. If you're not following Ruben Gallego, Senator Ruben Gallego, you need to do that. We'll put his handles in the chat.
It can be scary, though.
I mean, I love what you're doing. No one else is doing that. And like you said, you understand the vibe, you understand the moment. I'm sure a lot of it is generational, but a lot of it is being bicultural. A lot of it is being raised in 2, 3, 4 different worlds. Anybody who grew up the way that you did and then goes to Harvard knows that cultural clash, those two distinct worlds. It's like it's like cold water thrown in your face every day for 3 or 4 years. And of course, you served in the military. I'm saying all this because it seems to me, and again, I'm kind of a veterano now at this point. I've been doing a lot of campaigns for a long time. It seems like Democrats have sort of lost that edge, and you're bringing it back. But do you think the Democrats are hearing you and getting you when you're talking about the approach to younger Latino male blue collar workers? Like, you've got it. You've got the recipe.
I mean, not yet. But at least they're like, I have had people and other senators come and tell me like, oh, I heard your podcast about this and that. So like, I think they're getting there. The thing is that like, we have to accept that we're going to be uncomfortable with some people in our fucking coalition.
There
right?
You go. That's how you win.
Right. It's like, you know what? We want the guy, the Texas redneck Latinos that, grew up with Chuck.
Hey, whoa. Don't make this shit personal.
That's love. That's love.
Okay.
That's love. Come on now. That's just pure love, Chuck. We want them to be with us because you know what? We may not agree on 100% on the border, but they want to buy a house. They want to start a job. And we're the party that's like, hey, these guys get it. Like, yeah, maybe not 100% on the border, but they're not too bad. We should be fine with it. We need to be okay that they're not going to be 100% with us on trans issues. Right. But at the end of the day, if we're 100%, if we're 90% line on everything else, like, and they want to vote with us, like, we need to make sure that they feel okay to being part of our coalition, right? Doesn't help to lose elections. When you lose elections, your whole coalition gets fucked. Right?
You lose everything. You lose everything. That's why
everything's
online
right now. What we end up
doing
is our campaigns. There's like internal campaigns within our campaign. Right.
Well
Which
put.
That's bullshit. Just do the campaign and win. Right. Because losing has consequences. Losing has consequences on everyone within our tent. Right. Whether it is the trans family, whether it is the working class person who's now going to have to add more work, whether it is, the small businesses about to get screwed because of tariffs. Like, these things, we have to treat campaigns and say we, the candidates and the staff, really do have to treat this as an existential threat. And when that means is like, you have to not get caught up in this internal fucking bullshit and put the campaign together to win. That's it.
And I want to build off of that. And we go back and forth with these questions. 2 things I want to bring up quickly. And we talk about this on the podcast. Is Ruben Gallego was one of the easiest candidates to work for because he was a strategist before he was a politician. So he would want things implemented that he knew would work because he knew the community. I get to take a lot of credit for that thought process, but that's part of being a consultant. But him understanding the strategy and then demanding it of his consultants. And I'd also say sometimes the DC consultants did not like that me and him had to push back on a lot. That's what happened because many, many times, and this is going to get to my question, candidates cower to the DC consultants or the party infrastructure because it's not, quote unquote, how things are supposed to be done. Ruben would go, I don't care. I know how this works in Arizona, and we're going to do it this way. And if you don't like it, you're going to talk to me and Chuck and a couple others who would just say, we're going to do this anyway. And so he went way out of the comfort zone for folks to do that. That's A. And
Spill
then
the tea,
B,
man. You can't just run over that. You got to give me an
Well,
example.
I'll give you examples.
Okay,
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Look, for example, boxing watch party, right? Like I
great example.
I grew up watching De La Hoya, Trinidad, Cesar Chavez. I mean, even, Manos de Pierda, all that whole stuff, man. I getting with together with my uncles and, going, this is back in the day when kids were allowed in bars to watch fights. Go there. When we leave work sites, if there was a fucking boxing match, we'd go, right? So, recognizing that we're having problems with Latino males, I'm like, you know what? I know, number one, when there's always a fight, Canelo always fights 2 times a year. When? Cinco de Mayo weekend and Dia de la Independencia, right? September 16th. So I told my team, like, boom, let's do this. We're going to do a cool event. We're going to rent out a club, put the match on there, send out flyers, get the community come in there, get the press in there. And, nothing's happened. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And essentially now we start hearing a real culture clash where the DC consultants were basically like, well, we're a little confused. Okay, what are you confused about? And this is what I heard later until this is coming back to me. I eventually put my foot down. We did it, and I'll tell you how that happened.
Yeah.
Like, well, we don't think it's a good idea to put something together, a boxing match where people are boxing in front. First of all, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Second of all, that actually is a really fucking good idea. But that's for a later point, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, there was some concern that this would perpetuate the stereotype that Latino men are violent. And that was not, something that they wanted to engage in. Like, I am a Latino man. I am telling you, we like doing this. It's not because I want to perpetuate the stereotype of being a lot violent. And there was some talk about how it is too Latino, right? Chuck, did I summarize it all?
Yeah. And then you maybe a little bit worried about serving alcohol to Latinos while they're watching boxing match.
Yeah. That's the other one. Like, how are we going to serve beer at an event while they're watching boxing? I'm like, you just bring the beer. You
just bring the beer.
and like, well, what happens if people are drinking and they break out a fight? It's like is there something like you think that just happens? Like there's like beer and Latino men, all of a sudden there's just fucking fighting. I mean, at quinceañeras, sure, but
right. Yeah,
but that's
it's different. That's different. It's not a boxing match.
Right. And so finally, like, I was getting frustrated as I saw this debacle not happening or happening horribly, and I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Chuck's in charge. I'm taking it all out of your white hands. Chuck is in charge of this, and only Chuck and the Latino staffers that know this world are going to do this, and that's it. And sure as shit, it was a great event. We had press that came all over. 300 Latino men, showed up, from after work to sit down
with their sons,
with their families, right? With beer. And we ate tacos, and they got to meet me in without any speeches, by the way, no speeches whatsoever.
You showed up with your son.
Yeah. Brought up my son, put on the boxing gloves, taught my son some boxing moves that I knew growing up. And, we had reporters that came there from all over the country. And, what you were hearing from these men, it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to vote for Kamala, or I think back then it was Biden the first time around. But, I really like Gallego, and I love that, he's really involved in the community. Like, this is the kind of stuff. And by the way, it was $300. I think it was 300 men. Chuck, that thing cost us a total of $1,000 altogether.
Yeah.
And
maybe that.
But the amount of free press we got,
millions.
and then the amount of men that were on their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, accounts, everything, and sharing this, like, it was just, viral. I mean, I just took my son to the Arizona Diamondbacks game last week, and as I was walking out, this janitor pulls up and walks up to me, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I voted for you." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, brother." He's like, He's like, I met you at for him, I met him at the rodeo.
Oh.
We went to a rodeo party later. I think you have that. Yeah. So that's a rodeo party I threw. And so this guy, Latino janitor, like pulls up his picture from his Instagram, and that's like picture of me and him. And like he posted on his Instagram meeting me, right? So like free fucking advertising by being like authentic and reaching out to this community in an authentic way.
I just real quick free advice here, by the way, for listeners. Latinos get drunk and fight at weddings, and then we make up at funerals. That's the way it works. That's the circle of life. So don't worry about the boxing matches. Baptisms too. Yeah. So got to understand these rhythms of how the culture works. We do fight, but there are certain places we don't. Boxing, we don't. Yeah. So how difficult is it to start breaking through, not just with the Democrats to get it, but with kind of the Trump environment being as disastrous as it is and kind of all consuming? Is he creating a new opening for Democrats to get back into the game with this with our community?
Hell yeah! If he makes a bunch of Latino men poorer and they can't buy the troquita, they can't start their business. Yeah, they're going to be pissed. They're going to be pissed. Now we can't screw it up either. Like we need to make sure we have good policies and good messaging. I mean, the problem is like sometimes we get involved like, hey, here's our working class idea, how we're going to help working class men. And it's like this wonky fucking shit that'll take forever to actually happen, right? Yeah. Or it's something that, it's infrastructure. Okay, well, it's great, but like it's one of those things that people don't really feel passionate about. Now, if we have ways that we could actually like directly get these guys some money into their bank accounts, whether it's like a child tax credit, like that's a big thing, we're fathers, things of that nature, helping them start businesses, like helping them become richer, right? Or even just having the conversations about that matters. Also, understanding where they are in terms of security matters. Like men specifically, they pride themselves. They want to bring their family economic security and actual physical security, right? Latino men aren't anti-cop. You're not going to be able to convince, most Latino men that we should defund the police. Do they want police to be good? They want police not to racially profile? Yeah, absolutely. But if you go into a Latino neighborhood and start saying like, we got to defund the police, or even, something else close to that nature, you're going to lose fucking votes, right? Because these guys are working class. They can't move if the neighborhood becomes bad. This is why they pay taxes, right? They can't hire extra security. Hell, they probably can't add more security doors, right? So they need cops, right? And so back even to the border security, right? A lot of these guys, they still have family members that are undocumented, illegal in this country. Right. But they were pissed about what they saw at the border because they thought that was a dangerous situation. Because guess what? They were right. It was a dangerous situation. Hundreds of thousands of people coming to the border, and we are just saying, come on in. Like any rational person would be like, yeah, that's not good, right? And so if Trump fucks the economy up and we're the party that's going to say, hey, we're going to bring you your personal and family security and economic security, that's when we win them back.
Can Democrats do that?
We have no choice. That's the other thing. It's like, this is how you win, right? It's just that simple. And the other thing is like the real Democratic Party, the base of the Democratic Party wants good cops, a secure border, and a good economic future. That's
the data is clear on that, by the way. The polling is overwhelming.
That's when you end up like going off and it doesn't hit. And that's why we kind of missed, last couple of times.
Yeah. Put your strategist hat on, and I'm going to ask you a question I haven't asked you before. And let's do a free ad for the Democratic Party, the DS, super PACs. So you were an anomaly for lots of reasons, but one is that you're a Latino candidate running in a state, quote unquote, that's a Latino state. Yeah. In the next election cycle, there's going to be a lot of senators running, a lot of Senate candidates running that are not Latinos, but have substantial Latino populations in there. What advice would you give them? And what's different for a white candidate who's running in a place where they need to get involved, do what they say? Well, if I put on a Ruben Gallego hat and I go to a rodeo or a boxing match, Chuck, is that enough? Well, what do you think about that, Ruben? And what would you advise them as a strategist?
Well, I mean, as a strategist, I think whatever you do, you better be authentic, right? Like, the rodeo we did a couple rodeo efforts, right? I never wore a cowboy hat to the rodeo. Why? Because I look like an idiot with a cowboy hat, right?
You're
Right?
not the
Even
only
though
one, by the way. You're not the only one, Ruben.
You're talking about Madrid, not me. Not me.
Doc, you look good with a
Yeah,
hat. I
thank
think
you.
that-
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, you look like an urban cowboy there, but
Whatever.
sure.
Thank you.
Go dance in that.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Keep
look, I
moving.
even grew up for a little while in a ranch in Mexico, but I'm not known for wearing hats. Like,
Yeah,
nobody sees me wearing a sombrero, or a tejana, whatever, right? So I just don't do it. You better be authentic, whatever you do. But listen, don't be afraid to get out there, right? One of the cheapest things that we did was when we there was like a minor league soccer team in Arizona, and we printed up for $200 Gallego shirts that were like soccer jerseys, and we just handed out to people as they were walking in. And we don't know if this is going to work or not, but it ended up all these kids and all these families threw on my shirt, and in this like little arena of like 2,000 to 4,000 people, you had hundreds of people walking around with Gallego soccer jerseys on, right?
Yeah.
You got to just try, right? So if you're this Latino, if you want to get out to Latino vote, especially like if you're running places like, Texas, there's North Carolina, for example.
Georgia.
Georgia, get out there, find out where the community events are, get into those community events, get into where people go, right? One thing that I wanted to do so bad, I just never got around to is get into the flea markets, right? Every Latino or candidate wants to get Latino vote, they should have a booth or they should have a table at every fucking flea market, right? Every week. It's cheap and people are coming right back there. You should go, every Sunday, everyone who's Catholic knows this, after Mass, what do? You get breakfast. There's only a couple of places they all go. You should go and make sure that you're, standing outside and shaking hands as people are going into, get breakfast at, the local IHOP, the Denny's, or whatever the local place is. You have to feel comfortable getting out there, even though you may not have the same, speak the same language, your culture's entirely different. But if you just make the effort, it's a huge, huge deal. But you got to invest the time and you got to invest the money. If you do shit for token reasons, you're going to get token results. And that's the one thing that I've seen a lot of candidates do. Like, oh, well, I went to like one Latino event and, I did, $50,000 of TV. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? Like, oh, I didn't move the needle. I'm like, well, you didn't pay to move the needle. So it's not going to happen, right?
Right.
If you want to move the needle, then put the investment and time to actually move the needle.
This is gold, man. Like all of this stuff tactically, and this can only come from having lived that experience, is knowing where to go after Mass. Because that's exactly right. I mean, that's the way I grew up, right? That's what we did. And that's just the way the community kind of connects. I'm going to ask you a question, which might be a little bit of, I just want your insight on this. If you had been a white candidate and pulled this off, you would have been on the cover of Time magazine, right? But there's a Latino and was like, well, yeah, I mean, he's Latino. Of course, that's what it was. But right. It wasn't. You had to work. You had to know. You had to execute. You couldn't take the vote for granted. You were telling the world, I'm going to go fight for this vote. And you did. And you did it smart. You did it adeptly. Is that tension apparent in DC, in the DC class still? Is there sort of you're this exotic exception? Or is there an understanding that we've got to really change seamlessly who we are to get to where we need to go?
You're getting a little deep there. And I'm not that deep of a man, Mike.
Okay. But I don't know about that. That's not true.
I've always had to work harder than everybody at everything. And even when I have succeeded, where other people have not succeeded, there's always the but, right?
Right.
Here's the thing that pisses me off. Like, had I lost, by the way, they would have been like, because he was fucking Latino.
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yes. Ándale, sí.
Yeah, they would have been like, oh, he was too Latino, or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Look, man, I just got to produce, and so I went. If people want to do what and learn from this, I hope they will. But we're always going to, unfortunately, be that one, race that is the acceptable race to forget, or it's just like when things go well, they're fine. When things don't go well, it's their fault. So
truer words, man. If you had lost, you got attacked from both sides. You were too Latino. You weren't Latino enough.
So, like for me, like nothing surprised me. Like we won a hard race, and the first thing that said, well, it's Carrie Lake. I'm like, okay, well, Did anyone else have to run against somebody with 300,000 voter registration advantage? No. Okay. Did someone else have a Green Party candidate that was purposely recruited to have your take some of your Latino vote? No.
And funded.
No.
Funded, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, but I also don't, I feel like trying to, the more I explain, the more defensive I get. And it's just like, it's just not worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I know the numbers and it showed.
So we ask our guests this sometimes as a parting thought, especially thought leaders in the community. And I want you to think about this is that, having a personal relationship with you, I know a lot of stories that a lot of folks don't know. And I know that you're not, quote unquote, supposed to be here if you look what a senator is supposed to take a path of. You have been in a lot of the right places at the right time. You have worked really hard. There's a lot of Latino men and Latino women who grow up in the neighborhoods that you grew up in, and never slept on a bed till they got to college because they had a room full of sisters and they got the bedroom. All the different sacrifices you've had. And a lot of men like me and you, me growing up in a trailer house in East Texas, I'd have never dreamed that I would have the life that I have today, right? I want to know what you would go back and like to tell other young men who are at home right now trying to figure it out, who listen to the podcast, who may look up to Mike Madrid or Chuck or you or somebody, of like, I like to explain to people that you're not got to be perfect. And I am the furthest thing from perfect. And I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned from those mistakes and I worked really hard and got really lucky. But I think it's important. You're a U.S. fucking senator. Like, I think it's important for folks to know that it's possible that they could maybe one day do that. But I want you to kind of give them some wisdom on what you would tell them as guidance into their life as they look into the Donald Trump presidency.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like in general in life. I think the one thing I've had to fight when I was a kid, and even now as an adult, like I have to remind myself I am good enough and I'm smart enough. And even now, sometimes like I have like imposter syndrome. It just fucking happens. It creeps up on me, right? And like it's crazy. Like with all the things I've done and accomplished in the world, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know, like I get that little cringy inside feeling. When I was 14 and things were really bad in my family, like it was bad. Like I was sleeping on the floor. I heard my mom crying next door because she was just under severe pressure. How's she gonna raise all these kids, in this house? Like, the things that like a lot of parents have. I said like, we're gonna change this, right? The way it changes, go to fucking college. What it means, I go to college and you get a scholarship. When you get a scholarship and you get good grades, and fuck it, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna try to go to the best fucking college possible. Go, right? And I put a plan together, and at that stage, the most important thing was I had to believe in myself, because a 14-year-old Latino boy who from a family that didn't go to college at all, and I was in a high school, which was a very good not great, but a good public high school where a lot of people went to community college and trade school, some college. But if I had gone and just let what the counselor had told me I was supposed to do, he was going to send me to community college, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. And there's nothing wrong with your state school, something like that. But no, he was not going to find something inside me that told me I could do this. It was me. I had to do that. And, if you're a young person out there, hell, if you're an old person, you could still turn this around. First of all, you got to believe that you can do it, because if you can't do that, no one else is going to believe in you. The thing that helped me is once I believed in it, and I believed it wholeheartedly, it was way easier for me to have like a community out there that helped me out. So, it was like, I got my teachers involved. I got my consultants, my counselor involved. I got my family involved. Like, I was able to tell like my mom, like, hey, if I want to get into these great schools, I need to get into this type of program. I need you to sign off on this paperwork. I need to go, I won a scholarship to go study in Greece for a summer, right? I'm like, Mom, this sounds weird, but I need to go to Greece. I can't work this summer. Like, I need you to sign off. I have the money to go. You don't have to pay for anything, but you need to believe in me so I could go to Greece, so I could come back and put that on my resume so I could get into Harvard or into these other great schools, right? Like, believe in yourself, then go out there, get the team to believe with you. And just remember, you're going to have that little doubt inside, like, you get this apprehension and everything else like that. Got to push through it. Because if you don't push through it, no one else is going to push through it for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Mike, go ahead.
I got to say, I want you to know how proud of you I am because of that story. It's a remarkable story in many ways because it's not that remarkable. It's a story of so many of our travails
Very
and
true.
you personalize it so well. I graduated like Chuck. I graduated with a 2.1 GPA from Moore Park High School. If I didn't have a community college system to save my ass, I never would have made anything out of myself. I was going to be a pizza delivery guy for the rest of my life. That's what I was going to do. Your story is so inspiring, and I want the listeners to know that even though, like my relationship with Chuck is, we may not believe in the same approaches to government, but I believe in you. I believe in you, and I believe that even if we disagree, I got your back, and I'm going to say you're heading in the right direction. And I know because I know the way you grew up. I know that your fight is our fight, and you've got to at some point take a few moments to realize how far you have come, brother. And when you're on the floor of the Senate, the amazing names of people who have not just represented your state, and there are a lot of them, but the people who in our country's history who have been on that floor. And you're there. I can't, it gives me chills just talking about it. So I'm really, really proud of you. I appreciate the time that you've given us. And I'm really, really proud of what you're going to be doing going forward, because man, you're young and you're generationally, I think, going to be driving the country and the party in a different direction. And I'm looking forward to what you're going to do.
So young, you got another baby on the way.
Got another baby.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, number 3.
Anytime.
Latinos, we do that really, really well.
We got to make
I'm hoping only 3, but it looks like I might be losing negotiations on that too. So.
Senator, thank you for being here.
Right,
we're going to stay on
night,
and talk about you. I'll see you later tonight. Thank you again for being on.
All right, man. Adios.
Well, that went well, Mike Madrid. What did you think about that? I told you I could get him. It only took me 3 months.
Yeah, he, I like. It's great to just have studied his career and watched him, his policy, his politics, the navigating that he's got to do. He's really threading a needle, and he does it in a way. He does it with a smile, like he says.
Right.
He makes tough decisions. They're not just like, moderating to the right. He's got to deal with his left flank. He's got to push Latino advocacy and community groups in a direction that's going to help them build to accomplish the goals that they want to. I love just how far he's come. The rooms that he's walked into from where he began is just, it's very moving, because I know
as a strategist,
yeah.
You can see that I get to take a lot of credit for somebody who just got it. Like he understands, right? And so my job was more of being the hammer on the campaign when he'd really want something and everybody was pushing back, and he would just text me and be like, I want this to happen. I'd be like, I'm going to make it happen. Don't worry about it. I got this.
Yeah.
Because he instinctually ends up in the right place immediately.
He's got great instincts. He's got great instincts.
He's like, Latino men don't give a shit about this. Like, we should do this thing. And why aren't we already doing this? I thought this was handled, like, because he's always thinking, right? So it helps for all of you strategists out there. When me and Mike talk about us doing campaigns for 30 years, you don't always get a Ruben Gallego. You get somebody who wants to go along with whatever the party says, whatever the consultants say, because they don't want to rock the boat, because that's the easy thing to do, y'all. And this is not me blowing smoke up Ruben's ass. I worked for him then. I still work for him today, and I'll work for him from now on. He's a very, very loyal person. And let's be clear. It ain't easy to work with Chuck Rocha. Like, I am mouthy as hell. I'm popping off all the time about the party. And he's like, I don't care. You're telling the truth. I've got your back. And you have somebody who has your back, then you have somebody who can be around you and do anything, right? And so it's a little bit easier, but you should know, for all of you that are listening, you should be watching and downloading the YouTube, because what you see is what you get with Ruben. And a lot of people around him wanted to box him in. Mike can probably already see this, and make him be this certain candidate, right?
Right.
And he would be who he was. Sure, we asked him not to cuss as much, and he didn't. And he didn't tweet as much during the campaign, little things. So he gave and took some of that. But it was Ruben's campaign, and it was Ruben's vision. People don't know that 2 years before he ran, hell, let's go back 6 years. Ruben was going to run for the Senate, and Mark Kelly got in the race. And the senators, I won't name names, he got calls saying, you can't run against Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's an astronaut. He's got time. His wife had just went through who she went with, Gabby Gifford, and wait your turn. They told him to wait his turn because he was, a young man, a young congressman. And you'll note that Ruben Gallego didn't get in that race, and he waited his turn, but it chapped his ass that the Latino, had to wait his turn because he thought he could beat Mark Kelly. Now, this is me talking, not Ruben, so y'all can't put this on him. Yeah. Ruben has his own views. But when it was this time, when the opportunity arose and they were like, you can't run against Kirsten Sinema. We don't know if she's going to run. We don't know if she's going to be an independent. He was like, no more waiting. It's time. That probably none of that shocks you, right, Mike?
No, but that's a great fucking story. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, that's the change that we're going through. And it doesn't have to be for U.S. Senate. I mean, it's the biggest, most glaring example. So I'm glad you told it. But that's happening on city council and state legislative races every day. And those are the considerations. That's going to keep happening. So I'm glad you're sharing that, because if you're listening, and I hope you are, and you're sharing this with candidates who are considering, you've got to be ready to move and keep building that capacity. I'm not going to say that you should never wait, but damn it, don't wait too long. Don't wait too long, because there's always going to be saying somebody that it's not your time. And, I'm glad he did wait for Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's a good man, but, Ruben, I think, needed to make some adjustments too earlier on. And what I love about Ruben is that scrappiness, that grittiness that had got him off of sleeping on the floor of an apartment with his mom and 3 sisters and got him into fucking Harvard, that got him through war zones in the Middle East, is not always the easiest way to be diplomatic and become a politician. But he's so self-aware. He said it today on the show. Like, I've got to be careful with sometimes I get pissed about this stuff, so I can't put myself in that situation. Like, that's self-awareness, right? Like, he's matured, he's developed. And so frankly, his timing could not have been better at this moment than if he would run for Mark Kelly's seat. The party needs him. The party needs Ruben Gallego, and they needed him in 2024. They needed him to win, because he was the one bright spot saying, we can get back into this. I showed you how to do it. We can do this.
Latino men are not gone forever.
Latino men are not gone forever. And without that, imagine how bad the depression.
Oh my God, it'd have been so bad.
So the timing worked out for everybody, and that's the way politics often works. But like I said at the end of his send off, brother, and you know this better than I do, he's just getting started. His dude's going to change the trajectory of the Democratic Party. Of that, I'm convinced. Whatever he does, he may stay in the Senate for 20, 30 years. He may go on to other things. I don't know. But what I will say is he's not done. He's just beginning, and he's right at the cusp of a transformation of the party that he's going to be leading. So I appreciate you getting.
It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for all the candidates out there as well. Like, you should listen to consultants. You should listen to the party. You should do all the things, but you should not abandon your instincts if you know your community and have been rooted there for a long time. Consultants in DC know one way to run a campaign. They're going to do a poll. They're going to do a focus group. They're going to spend a lot of money asking questions that they've asked a million times in other races. They're going to make TV ads that look like those messages, and they're going to call it a day.
Right.
And a lot of times, whoever spends the most money in those scenarios wins. I had wrote a question that I didn't put out there, that Kamala Harris had outspent the Democrats and Donald Trump 3-1 with Spanish language advertising, but yet still underperformed in every single county in America with Latino voters. Money's not always the answer. No. Sometimes you got to bulk the system and do what you know is just right. As Ruben said to me when we were together 3 weeks ago, he's like, sure, there's lots of things I want to do that are very progressive or very conservative that are good for our community, but we have to win first. Right now, we haven't won. We got to get back to winning if we really want to change policy that's going to help working Americans and all Americans. And I think that we have gotten so down a policy rabbit hole that we've forgotten about winning, which is you can't do anything if you can't win. Folks said Donald Trump was crazy, but he won because he tapped into people and all their grievances and all the things. We could do a separate podcast, but I thought today was really good, and it's good to be back. I'll tell you about all my adventures next week when we record podcast. I think I'll be in California next week, but I'm going to bring my microphone. I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to be in Palm Springs. Remember, we talked about this.
Look at that.
You're welcome to come to Palm Springs and record with me. I know if you could drag yourself out of Sacramento.
I was there yesterday. I was down in Indian Wells yesterday. I was speaking to a group there yesterday. It's starting to heat up, man. It's a dry heat, but it's hot, brother. Be ready.
I'm going out there to meet with, oh my God, I'm going to be there for Ruiz for 2 days and then Aguilar for 2 days. They're doing a back-to-back events.
Give Pete my best and tell him he needs to be on the show. We got to get Pete Aguilar on the show. It'd be great to talk about kind of the Democrat strategies. Or the House
offline, we'll talk about while I was off of some of these folks that are wanting to run for governor. California reaching out to me wanting to book on the podcast, I said, look, if you're a California guest, you got to go through Mike Madrid. Don't come through Chuck Rocha and think you're going to go around Mike Madrid.
I appreciate
You got to call him.
But we'll have them on. Yeah, we'll get them on. We'll be talking to everybody, and we'll give a good platform. Thank you. I missed you. I'm going to say it. I missed you. It's great to have you back. I did miss you. I missed the svelte voice. I miss trying to be as engaging as Chuck naturally is. So we've got a lot of really good stuff lined up, and Ruben, I think, kind of kicked us off with some of the guests. I had Kevin De Leon on previously. We're going to have a bunch of California politicians fighting for the Latino vote. There's a lot of DC folks we're going to be on track to be talking to here on the show as well. Guys, we really need you to help share on YouTube, like us, rate us high, and engage with us. Give us some of those comments. Give us questions. Who do you want to see on the show? And perhaps most importantly, what questions do you want us to ask those people who do come on the show so that we're giving you what you want?
Thank you for tuning in. And I have been listening to the show, and I heard you and De Leon talking shit about me. Don't think I don't listen when I'm not here. I listen to every show. I thought it was a really good interview. I learned so much about Kevin De Leon. We'll have to have a sidebar about that. But I was like, what? He did this? It was a great interview. Hat tip to you and the production team. It looked great on TV. I thought it was really well done. We're going to do more of that because Mike Madrid now has inspired me to go figure out who do we talk to. Ruben Gallego was just the first. Don't forget, if you're lucky enough to still have your mom and dad, you should give them a call this week. Tell them you love them. You should rate us high. You should follow us on all the social medias. And until next week, me and Mike Madrid will be back.